All right, this is a video for the school board meeting November 18th, 2025. It's been about 5 days, so gave them a little time to respond to a few emails and some questions that I asked during the meeting. I haven't heard anything back from them yet. Was hoping to get some information so I could put it in the video, but I don't have it yet, so I'm going to make the video and we'll see what happens from there. So at the end, I'll also have a link to the video if you want to watch it. Apologize, the sound quality is a little bad, there's a little rustling, but I'm also going to take a picture of the agenda, and it'll have, if you want to speed through the video, we'll have a timestamp on every item on the agenda, so to make it easier for you to go through if you want to hear what they said about a certain thing on the agenda instead of listening to the entire 1 hour and 22 minutes. You can just speed through to the timestamp on the video that the link has, and you can watch it for yourself. So I'm going to try to go through this right quick, and I'll give you some key points or some things that we heard from it, and save you from, if you don't want to watch the whole video, hopefully this will fill you in on what happened, and go from there. So call to order, Pledge of Allegiance. They adopted the agenda. They did a staff student recognition. Was really good. If you haven't had the chance, go on to the Powell County Facebook page and scroll down a little bit, and you'll see a video that a group of kids in the STLP from Stanton Elementary, they made a video of a tour of the new Stanton Elementary School, and they did a really good job on that, and I want to commend them from that. And so if anybody hasn't had a chance to watch that, jump on over there, check it out, and give it a watch. Then they had a communications report. All the principals came up. Not a whole lot was said or anything new on that. Public comments, there was only one person signed up to speak. That was me. So I got up and I had a list of questions that a few people from the community had sent in to me. So I brought that up in front of the board and made an introduction. This is the first time in probably the last 5 school board meetings that the school board did not respond to the comments from the public. So I don't really know why they didn't want, and these were really good questions, and they would have had a good opportunity to give a little feedback on that, but they chose not to, which I guess that's what they're allowed to do. But like I said, this was the first time in the last 5 meetings that they didn't take the opportunity to respond to the public comments. So other than that, they did not answer any of my questions, and I had one question I didn't want to ask in front of everybody just to save a little face on that. So I did email every school board member and the superintendent individually with all the questions, and I hope that they take the time to respond back, since these were legitimate concerns and questions from their community, and a lot of these school board members, their constituents that were asking these questions. I did find out what this number 7 is. It's called consent agenda, which means they group a whole lot of things under this one item, and they're supposed to be considered low priority, doesn't need a lot of discussion with it, so they can just approve that, and it'll automatically approve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It'll approve 11 items without having to discuss them. What I found odd about that was they didn't want to talk about the 1, 2, 3. They didn't want to talk about the 3 grants that they're getting. One's for some drawing tablets for Bowen. One was some sort of grant for the FFA soil conservation and environmental. So I don't know what that was for. And they got a Stanton Elementary 21st Century grant application put in. So don't know if they got it approved. They just were going to talk about it. So really don't know what all went on with those, but there's 3 grants there. They had an item that was called surplus items. They didn't even mention it. Mark Collier was the one that spoke up and made a motion to approve. And he just made a comment that they worked hard or something and wanted to push these grants on through, but it didn't mention any of this other stuff, and it went by pretty quick. But it said, what's surplus items? I don't really know what they're going to discuss. December trip request and an approval for donation at the middle school basketball, and approval for Miss Diane Meadows to attend a winter symposium. Again, the thing I found odd about that is down here in number 10, the high school basketball coach was actually in attendance and was asked to stand up and give I don't know, I call it a slight presentation for why the boys basketball should go on the trip to Somerset, which is fine. The board approved it, but why did he need to make that presentation when nobody was making a presentation about the December trip request or Miss Diane Meadows' trip to the winter symposium? So again, what do you all think about that? Why would you think these items that are under consent agenda should not at least be spoke about during the public meeting so other people can have a chance to hear what that's about? So let me know what you think about that. So then it went down to number 8 is a financial audit report, and we found a few things interesting in that. Again, you can listen to it. It's in a draft issue right now, so you can't get that on the school board's website until they finalize it. But just so you know, there was a few things that I found interesting. One is the overages. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. So in the audit report, they found some issues with the way they handle receipts or invoices, which I found, is kind of interesting. And that goes down to correlate with, they wanted to update a policy 04.311, review procedural updates, and review another procedure 03.11. And these are all coming out of their procedures and manual handbooks that apparently have not been looked at or updated. Some of them is as old as year 2000 since they've been looked at or updated. Another one here that they were looking at reviewing and updating because of an issue that the auditor found had not been updated or looked at since 2011. And this manual book and so on could be, the one that we looked at was about 1,100 pages long. And we don't know when the last time all of those pages and items in there has been looked at and reviewed and updated with today's time and with the way things are done. And it's still funny that Powell County is not up to the 21st century when it comes to digitizing its information. How hard is it to get a receipt, put it in a scanner, upload it to a file, and have it there? But anyway, so the financial report. The thing that was interesting was the food service department was, I think it was $111,000 in the hole, and they blamed it on, $111,000, $111,000 loss, and it was due to employee costs and lack of federal funding. So, when we talk about raising taxes for new sports facilities, just remember that they could use more money in their food service department. They could use more money to help pay employees to take care of our kids while they're there, to feed our kids, to educate our kids. So, just remember that. If you go through this audit report for yourself and check it out, look at all the areas where they're falling short on money and ask yourself, do we need to be putting more money towards sports facilities, in this manner? So I just, that's just one little thing I wanted to pick out of that. And, there's a lot of areas in that rough drafted report where they were in the red, meaning they were not able to fund itself. If this was in a business, it means it wouldn't be able to support itself. It was spending more money than it's bringing in. And everybody's going to say, well, we just need to give more. Everybody needs to give more taxes. It's not exactly how that works. It shouldn't work that way. It should be managed in an efficient way that it can survive on the budget that it has and not have to keep asking for more money. Find ways to shave things back, to find ways to save money and make it more efficient so that it can run on the budget that it has. So you look over and listen to that, but that was just an example I wanted to point out on that. So then cardiac emergency response plan was a really good thing they got. They're going to have those little zappers and people trained to do CPR. So when there's events going on, somebody can respond pretty quick. They did have a good plan, and I like it. They're going to have at least one person certified in every hallway in these schools so that you don't have 3 certified people in one hallway and 1 certified person in this hallway, and they got to go so far if there's an emergency in a hallway in between. I really did like that plan, and I'll give them kudos for that. So it's a really good plan to come up with there. then the high school overnight trip. And then the update policy, we talked about the review, the procedure update, another one, and then instruction report. Didn't have a whole lot to talk about on that. You all can listen to it if you want to. Facilities, down on item 15. So they talked about additional property coverages, which was from the last meeting when they talked about Bowen Elementary School has a sewer plant, if you didn't know. And in the last meeting, they threw out a number. It was $700,000 is what it's going to cost to replace that sewer plant because it is aging out. It is starting to deteriorate and fall apart. So keep that in come up with in order to replace that sewer treatment plant. So they did not want that additional property coverage. So just remember that. So then they went through with their pay apps. The contractors are ready to get paid and they need some checks issued. So they approved all those. The middle school pay app for the wall, a pay app for the new Staten Elementary School. Next one was a district HVAC equipment payment, the high school roof payment, boiler payment. So again, and then they went through approvals of leave requests. It is what it is. There's people needing maternity leave. There's people needing off work, so that's good. Informational items, personnel report, other business, and adjournment. So again, I'll have a picture of this with timestamps on it, and you can speed through the video and see what you want to see. So some little takeaways. We talked about the Bowen sewer plant. So I wanted to talk about overages. When you have a budget to build something, you know about what it's going to cost. You've got a budget to build something. And a lot of people harp on not going over budget. Don't go over budget. Don't go over budget. But we know you're going to have probably, 5 to 10% allowance for going over budgets on really large projects. But I find it odd, their excuse. They needed roughly $128,000 extra in order to move and do some other work for the water main and the sewer main. And that was a change order, meaning contractors come in and they needed to change the job scope that was unexpected from the original bid or the construction plan. They said it was because there was a lot of change in personnel in other departments or offices. I don't know, with the health department, with the water department, the sewer plant. Something you can see it, hear it in the video, but it makes you wonder why that wasn't seen beforehand and planned in. I'm not saying it's not worth $128,000 for whatever work it done, but why was it such a surprise in a change order that I think could have been seen or planned a little bit ahead of time? And then why would our district, our water and sewer district, that's going to take advantage of the school system and your tax dollars, make them want to pay out this money in order to change. It's all weird, but that's just something that you need to think about, going over budgets. If they talk about the facilities on these baseball fields and sports fields, how they don't even know how much it's going to cost. Ms. Watson's already said they can't get people to bid or price the improvements or the job without having the money in place. So they haven't even tried to get an estimate. So we don't have a clue what that's going to cost. The estimate she threw out was about $12 million. So with the overages and the change orders that we've seen come through for this new elementary school, I could imagine the change orders and the overages that would maybe come from these new facilities if the planning for that is as rough as it was for this. Because, another thing, you would think the people who designed the floors in the coolers for the freezer rooms and the cafeterias would have knew that the floor would have to be sealed a certain way in order to be approved by the health department. But since it wasn't, there was a change order in for that, and they had to go in and do some special sealing for that concrete in order to make it health department approved. I just find it hard that little things like that would have slipped through the crack. But again, you can go back and review the other minutes and the videos at all the other change orders that have come through. Just throwing it out there. I'm not blaming nobody. I'm not saying anything one way or another. It's just information. I put it out there. If you want to dig into it a little more and give me some feedback or answers on the why and as and how, feel free to do that. So another one is, yep. So we touched on that. Again, why is it some of our procedures and policies have not been looked at since the year 2000 or year 2011? And why hasn't some of the ways that the school board keeps records and does business not been updated to today's time in the digital age? I just find that hard to believe. I posted a screenshot of how a different county puts just their email addresses and information for their school board members and showed it right side by side with how Powell County does it. Also, I went to, I think it was Hardin County, and if you go in, you can actually go to their procedures and find their procedures, say on like food reimbursement or mileage reimbursement. I mean, it's right there. You can read it. It's broke down. You don't have to go in and ask to come in the office and see it and take a picture or pay for a copy to take it home with you. You can go on our website. This is Hardin County, and look at it. You go on Powell County's website. You don't have that option. I mean, there's a lot of things that's not been updated or done. You just go through and look at the minutes and some of your other information that you could look at. It's not been updated in a while. Just check that out. Just information, If transparency and communication is key, then these things should come about. So I hope this was a little bit enlightening. Those were the subjects that we could touch on there. Just informational in case you don't want to sit through an hour and 25-minute video. You can at least sit through a 20-minute or 25-minute video. Give some feedback. Send your questions in. Send your comments in. Keep them PG rated, please. I'm all for a good debate or a good conversation, but the back and forth chitter chatter of nonsense is not productive. We can have a good conversation that will solve a problem, or we just don't have one at all. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So guys, I hope you appreciate this edition of the school board meeting on November 18th, 2025. Give me some feedback and keep an eye out for the next one. Have a good day.